Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to day 4 of Ramadan and day 4 of Ramadan reset. MashaAllah, barakallah. I can't believe are we already in that stage where we go, it's going so quickly. How's your fasting? Alhamdulillah. So here in Turkey, as you can see, it's still daylight and it's been a beautiful day today. And I've been rushing around after 4 days of lockdown to get food, which is a big reminder about why we're here tonight. And yes, I'm going to introduce my special guest in just a moment by the grace of Allah Ta'ala. It's someone I've wanted to speak to for a long, long time and admired from a distance. But let's have a reminder first about the gratitude we must all feel just for having food to break our iftar with. I remember once watching on TV and there was a sheikh and he was taking questions from people around the world, and a man called in and he said in Arabic, Ya Sheikh, if me and my family have no food to break our fast, does it still count as fasting? And the sheikh didn't understand it. So he said, repeat, repeat. It's a very famous viral clip. And the man said again, I've been fasting for several days. We have no food to break our fast. So we're just going to carry on without any food or water. Does it still count? And you know what? The sheikh his heart opened and he was just crying because the thought of the condition where this man with no food or water was more concerned about Allah, are you going to count my fast, than he was about breaking the fast. Subhanallah. So that's a reminder for us. We're here today for Watan charity, and they work with Syrian refugees, both in the Syria and on the northern borders in Turkey. And we've got some really important packages that we're going to be sending to them via this show. We want to do that for 20 families today. So there's going to be a link coming up, and we're looking at food baskets and clean water for a family of 6, plus a hygiene kit. I'll tell you everything that's in them, inshallah. And that's just £100, and that will cover them for a month, 5 weeks. And just as we're planning our Ramadan and we're thinking about the lovely food that Allah has gifted us for our iftars, just imagine the mother who for just at least a month can look and go, next week I know my children are going to eat. Let's be a part of that. Let's be a part of that mercy. Alhamdulillah. So it gives me great pleasure now. And I'm a bit hoarse because that happens after you've been fasting, right? Eddie Redzovic. I said it perfectly and now I've messed it up. He's Eddie from the Dean Show. That's how you'll know him. And basically, when I came to the Dean by the grace of Allah 10 years ago, pretty soon after that, I remember looking for good Islamic content and finding nothing that kind of spoke the English language that I spoke, or came from a background where I'd understand. And then we came across the Dean Show and it was like, hallelujah. So Eddie, may Allah Ta'ala bless you. It's a great, great honor to have you here today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you. Very nice to be with you guys.
Tell us about Chicago. How's your fasting going? And how's your family?
Alhamdulillah, family's good. It's like everywhere else, lockdown, but everybody's doing great. Alhamdulillah. Fasting is going great. Fasting is something that we look forward to. Alhamdulillah, it's that spiritual boot camp that we're all a part of now. So it's here, and alhamdulillah, we're happy for it.
I wonder how many people are in your household. Are you on your own? Is it a big family?
Yeah, there's a lot of us. Yeah, big.
Okay, so you've had to try and sneak off somewhere to do your filming in a room. Are you in the basement or the attic? We spoke to Sheikh Abdurrahim Green, brother Abdurrahim Green, yesterday. He said he was in the attic. So where are you sneakily filming?
I'm on the 2nd floor.
2nd floor. Okay, you found a room, mashallah.
Yeah.
So this Ramadan, we're talking about a reset and maybe always wanting to move forward with the Deen. This is something that I think for people like you and I who have mixed with people who have addictions, know that you need to fill your time with something good in order to progress in life. And Ramadan really fills our time with that goodness. So talk to me a little bit about the changes in your life, Eddie, and what Ramadan meant to you. Maybe your first Ramadan after you changed from being, you know, a street kid with a bit of a reputation to this kind of strict fasting.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. It just goes back to the whole beauty of Islam. And Islam simply, as you know, I always like to define words because you never know who's listening. So Islam is to, because everybody at one point in their life, they have to make a conscious decision, or they're making conscious decisions or unconscious decisions to submit to something. They're either submitting to their desires, to money, to fame, to their own ideas. But as Muslims, we submit our whole selves entirely. We strive to submit to the creator of the heavens and the earth. So it gives you now, by doing that, you have a game plan. You understand that it's impossible for you to play the lot. We don't gamble, obviously, but just striking an example that if somebody was, just because we use logic, and we also we know that if somebody was to, it's humanly impossible to play the lotto, for instance, every day for 30 days, you know, and win. That'd be impossible. But it's more impossible for this whole creation and everything in it to create itself. So we're doing something that is just natural. We're not covering up the fitra, what we call it, the natural inclination to submit to our creator, the one and only. And then now it's just illogical that he would not have a purpose for us and a game plan for us, a blueprint for life. And now we have that blueprint for life. And fasting is just one of those things. And it's there to help us to gain more consciousness of the creator. And it's something that's in the tradition from all the messengers that were sent. They all came with the same message: worship the creator, not the creation, be morally upright, do good deeds, follow that messenger that was sent for you. If you were living during the time of Jesus, you would have to obey him, not worship him, and worship the one God. Moses at his time, he was the messenger. Abraham at his time, and Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the final messenger. They all fasted also. So we're continuing that legacy. It's that legacy. And what's amazing about fasting is, amongst other things, you see people, there's a lot of bullies out there. So you see people bullying the Muslims, you know, oh, why are you women, you know, wearing hijab, covering up? But now we got this pandemic. Everybody's almost like wearing niqab, right? They're forcing it on the people. Why are you guys not drinking alcohol? Why you can't? I mean, we come to know that, look, we don't have to play guesswork and see if it's good. It's not. You know, they just had a new study that came out not too long ago that every 10 seconds, someone is dying from alcohol. And now the new study is that even a little bit, no amount of alcohol is good for you. So alhamdulillah, the game plan tells us, look, the blueprint tells us, because it's from the divine, no guesswork. Also now fasting. Fasting is something that, alhamdulillah, we don't do it for the health benefits, but now you have so many people that are talking about intermittent fasting, fasting for health and cancer and all these things. But now we get the best of both worlds. So, and that's all because we came to this deen sincerely. We looked at the evidence, and now we can go ahead and trust in our creator and benefit from the spiritual benefits and from the health benefits that are all there in this deen. It's a full package. Everything for life that we need is in the deen. We just got to get grounded in it, trust in Allah, and just go ahead and implement it to the best of our ability. Alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. How do we communicate then, Eddie, to people who still see, well, okay, so a friend of a friend knows people who are taking more drugs during lockdown, not less. It's a really sad indictment of people whose boredom at being alive means that they need to be out of their heads. All of these terms, get out of it, be out of it. How do we communicate the joy of self-control in a society that lionizes do what you want when you want, particularly America, I think?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting you say that, because look, we know that, look, when you have the game plan, I mean, when you have purpose in life, when you're living your life according to not your whims and desires, but according to how your creator wants you to live, now you have everything laid out. There's not that void in your heart. And we see that here in the States, we are in America, we're 5% of the world's population, but the people, they end up consuming 80% of the world's cocaine. Can you imagine?
Really?
30 plus more percent of people are on prescription drugs. I mean, on painkillers and Prozac and whatnot. And now you have also, during this lockdown, people now would usually would go to the pub. They'd go to release, to the pubs, to the nightclubs. Weekend would come. They can't do that now. So you see, people are having to deal with all this pressure. You see, suicide is on the rise because people have lived for money, they live for their job, and everything's just vanishing in front of their eyes. So now you see suicide is just on the rise, domestic abuse, all of these things. But Islam helps us. Again, we are human beings. We also have feelings. We have ups and downs, tribulations. But look, Islam gives us the coping mechanisms. It gives us the antidote to all of these ills, so we don't become part of the statistics. We become part of the solution. So that's why it's important that we try to show Islam, live Islam, and communicate this message. And people have given every. That's the thing that amazes me. I mean, people have tried everything. They put earrings here, there, everywhere, tattoo everywhere. You know, you can see people are unhappy. Why not give Islam a try?
There was a famous case a couple of years ago. Did you hear about it? A young man called himself Zombie Boy, right? And he had a skeleton tattooed over his skin so that he looked like he'd had all his skin ripped off. It was clearly a cry for help. He wore T-shirts saying "Kill me," and yet all the people around him, all his American and Canadian friends, were saying, "Oh, it's such a great self-expression. You're being you." And when he killed himself, they all said, "If only we'd have had a sign." So the cries for help are continually out there, but the answer is self-control, not letting it all hang out. I think Eddie might have frozen. Are you there, Eddie? Bismillah. Well, let me expand on that for a second. Did you come back in, brother?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Fair enough. So I was just saying about Zombie Boy. Did you ever hear about him when he had a skeleton tattooed on himself and then killed himself? And it was such an obvious cry for help. But what I'm wondering is this reset every year that the Muslims get. Like you've called it a boot camp. Why do you call it a boot camp, Eddie?
Because when you go to a boot camp, it's intense. It's for a shorter amount of time, and it's supposed to produce more. The most amount of results in this short amount of time, and you're supposed to develop certain patterns, certain habits in that boot camp. So they push you to the fullest, to the max now. So this is what we're coming into. You have, again, because you're a Muslim doesn't mean that you're not prone to make errors and mistakes. So you might have some Muslims lighting up cigarettes. You might have some Muslims going to the club still, drinking or whatnot. I mean, we're human beings. So Islam is perfect. Muslims are the human beings who are trying to live Islam. If the more they're living Islam, the more they're grounded in it, the more they're going to be away from these vices. So now the Ramadan is there to help. It's amazing because even you have psychologists and experts say that, you know, in order for a habit to develop, you need a certain amount of time, you know, 3 to 4 weeks plus. So this is right there. No guesswork. You have a month now to go ahead and implement certain things. You might utter sometimes curse words. You might be prone to, there's no such thing in Islam, white lie, black lights, all a lie. So if you're saying things with your tongue that you shouldn't be saying, now you want your fast to be accepted, because it doesn't matter if you're fasting from food, but you're not refraining from slandering people, from gossiping, from saying bad words, curse words, etc. You're going to lose your fast. So any person who's grounded in their deen, they know that. So now in this boot camp, the spiritual boot camp, you're trying to raise up to get to another spiritual level, to get closer to your maker, to your creator, to God Almighty Allah. So you want to please him, you want to get the most benefit and reward. So now you're striving hard to stay away from all these vices to the best of your ability, so your fast will be accepted. You get the tremendous reward. And inshallah, you can come out of this boot camp, of this Ramadan, where now you've left off. You came in a certain way, you're going to leave, inshallah, better. And now you're more tuned to go ahead and deal with the rest of life's journey that goes on from here. And you don't want to end up losing out on all this great opportunity and reward. And that's one of the things about signs of your Ramadan being accepted, is if you come in and you leave better now from this Ramadan.
So I wonder, on a personal note, Brother Eddie, what do you need from this Ramadan? What did you want to reset in either your family life or in yourself? And perhaps, you know, as Muslims, we have a slightly different take on Corona and this plague that has been sent down, because, you know, the pubs are closed, the bars are closed. Um, People can't get the things that they wanted to fill ourselves. I was out today for the first time in 4 days in Istanbul, and all of the clothes shops are shut. All of the clothes shops that were so important before, everybody would have been already probably focused on their Eid outfits, let alone everybody else wanting to go to clubs and wanting to get the fast fashion. Now, none of those matters. What matters is, where are you going to get your dates? Where are you going to get your water? We're back to basics. What do you feel about that?
Can you hear me? We broke up a little bit.
What do you feel about us being back to basics because of Corona, Eddie?
Yeah, it's amazing that from something that now, in just a matter of a short amount of time, how everything can go ahead and just change. Life, just as we know it, just in a matter of moments, everything is changed, and from something you can't even see. So it's ironic. I was thinking about this. I was like, wow, for the people who are also crying, like you said, crying for help. A lot of times they cover up what's naturally in them, and then they call themselves atheism or agnostic. And now, because they cannot see their creator, they cannot. But now they've relied on certain testimony because they nobody. And I've heard the argument that you can see the corona under a microscope, but how many of us have a microscope in the back of our pocket? How many are actually going into the lab and looking at it? No, you relied on testimony. Somebody testified that this is it, and that's how it is. But we have more people that are deserving of following and believing is that these messengers that God Almighty sent, who are the most honest, the most trustworthy, and they all came with the same message. So now with this coronavirus, it's also in another aspect. We look for the good in situations that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has made it easy. I mean, He's made it where now you can go ahead and because work has been shut off. Many people make the excuse, even a lot of Muslims, that how am I going to provide for my family? This, that, and the other. They're so busy that they can't open up the Quran. They don't have time for seeking knowledge. What's the excuse now? So now you have the opportunity, perfect opportunity, because you're isolated. You're at home. If we lose this opportunity, it's going to be a big mistake. Same thing with our brothers. Let's say we'll start with them first, who just they were just really vigilant about getting to the clubs. They were just like this was on their mind, just going out or whatnot. It's a sad reality, but it's a reality. It's closed now. The clubs are closed, or the baseball team, the football team. We're being entertained from every avenue. So those doors are closed. Some of our sisters who we love dearly, our sisters in the Deen, some are very scared, and it's scary sometimes worrying about what other people are going to say, what they're going to think. And now they were kind of like worried about, let's say, taking it to the next level, right? He's working on their character. So important in the Deen to work on your character, but also Allah has other things that we have to implement. Hijab is one of them. So now we've been scared. Oh, what's he going to say? What's she going to say? Allah moved the whole world for you. Look at that. Now nobody. I actually, when I went out, I was just trying. I was putting on my, the thing. I was like, this is kind of cool.
Niqab. You're going to say your niqab. Yeah, your niqab.
I was just putting on, but no one's gonna. If you're wearing hijab, niqab, it's like now people are not focused on that. Now it's like it's a totally different environment. It's not. It's something that I feel like Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has moved the world for you, so that you can go ahead and benefit from these things now in a way, and you can really think that. Another thing is there's a beautiful, when Noah alayhi salam, Noah, one of the messengers of Allah, when he was asked, he lived 950 years, and he was asked, how do you see this life? He said, I saw this life like a house with two doors. I came in one and I exited the other. That's this life. So now death is just the mainstream media just pumping fear into the people. And this is, in and of itself can kill you. But the one thing is that now death is something that, I mean, it should wake up. There's a hadith attributed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that the intelligent person is the one who thinks about death, right? So you think about the reality of this life, that it can end at any time. I can die tomorrow. What's my purpose? Why am I here? You have it laid out for you. Now is a good time during this pandemic. I just interviewed a professional fighter who said that because of this coronavirus, he ended up coming to Islam. Exactly why? Because what we're talking about, because now everything calmed down, meaning that Now he just was like forced to go back to thinking. The isolation got him to thinking. That's why we have more people in prisons accepting Islam, because again, they're isolated, and now they get to think, they get to ponder. The rat race of life just takes people away. All the entertainment out there, everything, the rat race gets people, more consumed with materialism. But now it should be a time where you should really ponder and think, what's my purpose in life? Where am I going when I die? If I'm Muslim here, you already have the purpose, get to know it, really get grounded in it. It's simple to understand, and start really living it to your full potential, and take advantage of that really even more now during this coronavirus.
I think we might have a slight issue with Chicago there. I don't know, they're getting a bit slower with their internet these days. What's going on? I hope you're all benefiting from this, inshallah. I've wanted to speak to Brother Eddie for a long, long time. If you've got any questions for him in Chicago, he just rebooted again, brother. But that was fantastic consideration about legacy and about death. And about waking up.
Yeah. So I was finished off with saying that perfect opportunity for both, for both. So take advantage of the double opportunity, where you have the coronavirus lockdown, and also now you have Ramadan. So you can go ahead and get the best of both, inshallah.
So I want to say some hellos. I want to say hi to Layla from Bournemouth, who's a friend's sister. And we've got people watching from the USA. I think that's a USA flag, but it might be an island flag. And hi as well to Sri Lanka. I hope I said that right after mashing Brother Eddie's name up there. Subhanallah. We're here tonight because we want to send at least 20 families boxes of water and hygiene kits and food baskets. And what is a hygiene kit? Even in Chicago right now, there are people queuing around the block for basic things that we need, that we've taken for granted, like a shaver to keep your beard tidy. A lot of the brothers have been saying, oh my gosh, the state of my hair. I won't even tell you what's under the hijab right now, but all the sisters are complaining too. But if you are in a tent, if you're, your stuff is in a plastic bag, your life. And I've been to refugee camps when people will say, this is my life, this bag, these few photos. It's that thing of what would you take with you if you run out of your house and it's about to be bombed, or God forbid, Allah protect us, it's on fire. What do you take with you? And they've got that little handful, and then they can't. Then you wonder, I wish I had a bar of soap. I wish I could cut my nails. My father's nails, they might say, are growing into their feet. And so these hygiene kits are really, really vital. So Watan UK have priced them at £100. It's a brilliant combination of things that a family will need. It'll be 4 to 5 weeks. And when they get them, it'll be like, that sense of ease. And you know what else, Eddie? It's that sense of there being an ummah out there for us. When you came to Islam, when I came to Islam, that kind of virtual hug of 2 billion people, we need to extend that, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We're a global family, and it reminds me, some of these things we just take for granted. You have where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had talked about, if a person has food for the day, has safety and security and a roof over their head, that they're the richest person in the world. But many of us take that for granted, and because other people, like who we're talking about now, in these places, they don't have that security. You got bombs falling in many of these places. People scared if someone's going to intrude and come through their house and attack them. In many places, and then also food. Food is also something that now we have, but our brothers and sisters in these places, they don't. So this is our way to
and I think the realization with this sudden coronavirus is anything could be us at any time. We're literally in the hands of the Creator. We are Allah's creation. We are not part of Him. He is not inside us. We don't have this confused modern new ageism idea. He is outside of time and space. So he has made us, and he can do with us what he wants. And if he wants to send a plague to cure us, to awaken us, then we can be in that situation. 1 month you can be waking up and planning your summer holiday next year. Many of us, I was supposed to be putting on accidentally Muslim for a month, going to here, seeing family. I haven't seen my daughter for a month. Many of you out there will be cut off. Who knew this was coming? But the Syrians, do you think they went to bed, those years ago? Or some of them have just been bombed out of their homes recently. Idlib still being under attack. Subhanallah. Do you think they went to bed and thought, in another week I'll be in a tent? But they cry to Allah. They cry to Allah. And what Ramadan gives us, which is so, so inspiring, is a chance for us to literally answer somebody's du'as.
Yeah, that's a beautiful example. You don't know. You had plans, like many other people, but people expected to go to work. They expected to get paid. They expected to travel, but all of that was cut off. Everything was stopped. Now you don't even know what can happen next. Don't think that now tomorrow the situation. This just might be the start of it. You just don't know. Food can cut off. You don't know. So we need to be grateful and thankful, and this is our way to give back to those who are in that situation where they didn't know. They didn't think that they were going to be in this situation. They also had plans. They also had ambitions, but now you see what has happened.
Wealth will not be decreased by giving to charity, and a forgiving slave must be rewarded by Allah with authority. Sadaqallahu al-Azim, that's from the Holy Quran. And one of the virtues of fasting in the month of Ramadan is our eagerness. It softens our heart. Do you feel that, Brother Eddie, that even though we pray year round, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we keep our salah, that there's a kind of hardness and a materialism that kind of creeps in the other 11 months, that we all go, oh, I need this Ramadan so much.
Yeah, I think it just naturally affects us, all of us. It affects because you're in the environment. There are things that you don't want to see. You see, there are things that you hear. There are things that affect us, and it affects the heart. Goes through the eyes, through the ears, and it comes inside to the heart, and that's why it's just a constant trying to cleanse the heart. And I can imagine, just because every time a person sins, there's a black spot left on that person's heart, and then the remembrance of Allah, the remembrance of death is supposed to polish the heart. But if you don't have that, man, it's just a scary thing. So we're working on that constantly, and we're also now, like you mentioned, now in Ramadan, this is where you got the whole car wax, the heart wax. Now this is supposed to be where we're taking it to a whole nother level, because yes, absolutely, we get affected with a lot of the things that are out there. It just damaging, yeah. And many of us get desensitized to things that we don't even think that it's bringing harm to us. We become so desensitized, and now you ended up letting a lot of this stuff come into the mind. I call it the STDs, the spiritually transmitted diseases. They're affecting us. It's horrible. Yeah.
I like that phrase, spiritually transmitted diseases, and the idea of screen time. What do you do about screen time? Obviously, we're here for good, inshallah. By the way, everybody, when you want to sponsor a family of 6 in a Syrian refugee camp in Turkey and just on the borders of Syria, then you can go into the link in the comments below, get some family members together, £10 each, 10 family members, £100, and you've actually looked after a family for more than a month. And we're talking about recovering ourselves now, about being that sense of rebirth, that sense of awakening in the night, and it being a hardship, because fasting at the end of the day is for Allah Ta'ala. Did you know that prayers are for us? All right, they get rid of our sins. We're lucky to have them. Yeah, but fasting, when you feel it's hard, you know why? Because it's meant to be difficult. It's not meant to be easy. What do you say about that, Brother Eddie? Do you ever feel it's quite difficult? Do you struggle some days?
I've actually given up, almost given up breakfast. So for some time now, so I've kind of trained myself to. I've been doing the fasting uh, developing it, up until Ramadan. So it's become a little bit easier. I've started to eat less, eat more towards the end of the days. But yeah, absolutely, because people who are addicted to caffeine, and also the sugar, it's like a drug. So now headaches start kicking in. See the when you look at what's going on with the body, you're also you're detoxing your body also. Now, lot of these toxic things that are in our body are starting to come out. And you see, when someone in the beginning stages, while your body is adjusting, it can be very painful. It can be very difficult. So you gotta. That's one of the things, you don't want to go backwards. So, and also you want to reap the most benefits. So I talked about earlier, when and anything that is good for you now in this deen, you're gonna sometimes you have to suffer a little bit for the growth. So it might hurt a little bit, but there's tremendous benefits that are going to come from all of this. Some people don't want to pray, so but we know prayer, when you get into it, you're going to reap the benefits. It's going to come. uh Fasting, same thing. It's like, why am I? So you have to have a good foundation. Also, you have to know who you're fasting for. You don't want to be just like a robot, because many people will just go through the motions and give up food. But really want to develop that love for your creator, and that's through knowledge, through the proper knowledge. You have to, to know your creator, to love your creator. You have to know your creator. You have to now spend time with his book, the Quran, and studying the life of the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, is based on evidence and proof. And this is what convinced me. It wasn't something blind faith. I looked at, like yourself also. We'll get you with your stories. I mean, people, they look at the different ways of life, and they come to know that these are man-made religions. That just doesn't add up. But Islam adds up. It's something simple to understand. When you talk about simplicity, I'll give you the opposite. Something that's convoluted. Tax code is convoluted. Attorney lingo is convoluted, right? But Islam is not convoluted. It's simple. It's easy to understand. So now, going back to what I was saying, is that yeah, it can be a little bit trying, but with those who have experienced it and they come through it, it becomes easier. Now it becomes like, you train your body, and you'll be amazed at what your body can go through. But you don't want to also now, as your body's detoxing, also you're spiritually growing, also you're reaping the health benefits. You don't want to start putting garbage in your body, because now you're detoxing and you're putting the toxins back in your body. So you want to eat real food, avoid the fake food, eat the good tayyibat food that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and so you can really reap both the spiritual and the health benefits. This is out of Allah. It's amazing. It's in Allah's mercy that we get the best of both.
Eddie, I'm going to come in there. It's the adhan is just coming in, mashallah, for iftar here for Maghrib. So I'm going to mute myself. You've got 2 minutes to continue on that theme, inshallah, because you're a jiu-jitsu master, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And there was also a story in the press that I read when I was researching about your life, that some people from your jiu-jitsu club took on a mugger, and but then forgave them. Would you please talk about that? And I'm breaking my fast, everybody. I'm not breaking at the wrong time. It's the right time. So please, I'm going to be making du'as for 2 minutes. Barakallah feek.
Yeah, that was an interesting story that happened. We had one of my black belts, my cousin actually, was what she was talking about. It was midday, and one of the other students saw someone going into his car. So then they told him, "Hey, someone's in your car." He says, "No way." So then he went out there, and then he caught the guy. He caught him. It was a young man. I think he was under 20, almost 20, and he grabbed him, put him on the ground, and then the police came, and then he decided to just give him a chance, let him go, and that was picked up by the news media, and then they reported on it. So that was something that was very interesting, because he wanted to show him some mercy, because he didn't want that to go on his record. He didn't want that tomorrow. So he had a talk with him, and I think he connected with with the somehow he connected with the boy's father, and he talked, and so he took this approach. Yeah, but this goes back into also during these times. Is and all times we should be. I've been talking a lot more about health. We also have fitness, self defense, and so we are well rounded in all these areas. One, we're grounded in our Deen. We know it. We live it. We're human beings. We're going to make mistakes, but we remember that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in chapter 3 of the Quran, ayah 185, Kullu nafsin da'ikatul maut, that every soul will taste death. And that, reading that should have us to really reflect and ponder, like, hold on, you know, why am I here for this short amount of time? And then you come to know this life is a test. We're here for that short amount of time that we're being tested. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that I've not created life and death except to test which of you are best indeed. So now you're racing towards good, being a good human being, being charitable. Like right now, this is a great opportunity during Ramadan to give in charity. Like our sister now, may Allah bless her. It's amazing to see people who have accepted Islam like her put it all on the line. You can see that she was more concerned about pleasing her creator than pleasing the people. And then from there, she submitted to Allah, and now she's hosting this. Look how far she's come, to this give zakat, give hope. It's amazing. Oh, you're back. Sorry, I wasn't. I was. I was backbiting you, but in a good way. See, that's the thing. You can't. Yeah. So I was actually talking about you. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Allah bless you, Brother Eddie. We're going to spend, we're going to really ratchet up the good deeds now, because there's no month like it. There's no community in the world like it. There's nobody like the Muslims for being able to give to one another. I'd like us to be able to, one of the things that appealed to me about Watan UK charity is their long-term vision for Syrian refugees. And I have to say, I went to a refugee camp in Gaziantep, which is in Turkey. And it's the first time, Brother Eddie, and everybody who's watching out there, welcome Facebook Live. First time I've ever cried at a refugee camp for hope. I've been to Sabra and Shatila, I've been to refugee camps in Gaza and the West Bank and Lebanon and Jordan, and I've cried a lot. But this is the first time when I saw people who had a progression towards a new life in the future. And that's so important, because what we give when we donate is actually hope. It's that certainty, it's that renewed certainty of not only has Allah Ta'ala not left us alone as individuals or as families, but he's created an ummah that means that we're never alone. And listen to this. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, Allah the Exalted is the giver. He loves generosity and noble manners, and he detests bad manners. And these are all virtues. And both Brother Eddie and I, coming from outside the Deen, looking for fame. We were looking for fame, right? We were looking for recognition from human beings, let's be honest. You're only as good as your next article in the newspapers, or your next TV show, or your next, whatever, person that you're close to in a photograph, right? And it depletes you, whereas we're here for good. So, Brother Eddie, please, call to everybody for the Syrian refugees, and click on the link, brothers and sisters, please. We want here to get 20 families tonight looked after, inshallah. So over to you, Brother Eddie. What do you a call out for people to help the Syrian refugees, and about generosity in this Deen in this wonderful month, inshallah?
Okay, I hear you now. So we have, as I was when you were gone, I was reciting chapter 3, Surah Al-Imran, verse 185, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, Kullu nafsin da'ikatul maut, that every soul will taste death, and you're going to leave everything. So death should be a catalyst for a person to really put their life in order. It's not to be pessimistic, but optimistic that there's something better waiting for us. And that's Jannah, if we live this life according to how our Creator wants us to live. So we've amassed a lot of this wealth, and many people have lost a lot of this wealth during this coronavirus, but the wealth that you've lost, but the wealth that when you give for the sake of Allah, you don't lose that wealth. That is something that Allah saves for you, and now you get back. You get blessed with the rewards in this life, but also more importantly, Allah has that saved for you in the next life. So now all those deeds will start to unfold, and you can imagine when we make the transition, when we leave from this dunya to the akhirah, to the hereafter, and now a person, we know just by look at the optimism of Islam, like just amazing that the Prophet ﷺ said that if the day of judgment was to come upon you, and you had a sapling in your hand, plant it, right? Plant it. If to save yourself and your family, look from the hellfire, like even just by save yourself from the hellfire, just even by giving half a date, right? Just give something, just whatever you have, like give it. You're not losing it, but you're actually gaining with Allah in this life and the hereafter.
Ameen, mashallah, tabarakallah. And of course, we know as well in the grave that there are only deeds there that keep us, from the fire when we're actually in the grave, and actually reassure us and bring us closer to Allah Ta'ala. And those are the sadaqah jariyah, those are the good deeds, those are the pious children. These are the important acts, and they're so different from what the world is telling us now that you should. And the world has changed, Who knows what it's going to be like? There may be a famine coming. And so we should all perhaps today be making big du'as in Ramadan against famine, because nobody's picking the fruit and the vegetables in these places, because, in the UK, that racism that said the workers we no longer want, well, guess what? They're not there picking our fruit and our vegetables. So now they're rotting on the vines. And I guess the same in America to a degree as well. People are being told you can't go out and work, but they didn't have enough money to live on in the first place. So hardship is all around, but we have ease in our deen. What do you say, Brother Eddie?
Yeah, with every difficulty there comes ease. It reminds me of the Prophet ﷺ said, take advantage of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your wealth before poverty. So now is an opportunity where while you have some wealth, to get rich with Allah, you give that wealth, for the sake of Allah, and then your free time before you're busy. Again, now Allah has freed you up. You have some before things. You come out of this lockdown and just right back into the rat race, right back, and then you forget. So now you're like our brother William Ott, the one who accepted. I have this program up, inshallah, this week. It was amazing that, again, because of the coronavirus, equals calm down. Life is like I'm locked down, and now the hustle and bustle of life is not like it is. It's calm, and he ponders things. He accepts Islam. He starts to think, you have an opportunity now. Everything is calm. Okay, before the tides kick in again, a perfect opportunity. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, life before death. Again, you're alive. We have life. Death is around the corner. You just don't know. I mean, here in America, 3 million people die a year, 7,000 a day. And now, even though your chances, realistically, with the whole corona, we take the precautions, we do everything, but death for us should be something that besides coronavirus and everything, I believe it's like it's 98% of people recover, but even that, I mean, Allah tells us that only by Allah's permission can a soul depart this life. So we have to be, but that doesn't, we don't become arrogant to the point that we're not thinking and worrying about death. And we worry about the death is like, okay, am I prepared now? Did I give enough? Did I pay my zakat? Am I praying 5 times a day? Am I obeying my creator? Am I pleasing my creator before I meet my creator? Now you could go ahead and, inshallah, you can feel some confidence and you can expect good of Allah. But now if you're not praying, you're not giving, you're miserly, all these things, and now you're just like heedless, then that's going to be a problem. Then the last one, health before sickness. And now we have the spiritual health. We get to revive it during Ramadan, and also the physical health, very important.
MashaAllah. Brother Eddie, I'm going to say assalamu alaikum and thank you so much. If I could get you back on again at the end of the month, we'll try, inshallah. But we're very grateful that you joined us, and we make du'as for you and your family, the people in Chicago to have ease after hardship, and for you to have the highest of Jannat al-Firdaus for your duty and your kindness to the Ummah. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Thanks, brother. Masalama. So that was Brother Eddie from the Dean Show, as you know, mashallah, tabarakallah. And he joined us today. Why? Because he wanted to encourage you and to encourage me to give to Syrian refugees from a Watan charity org. They look after Syrian refugees who are currently in refugee camps, mashallah, tabarakallah. They have programs of education and health. But what we're fundraising for right now, all you need to do is click a link. Brother Harris Khan is going to put it for you, is these special water, hygiene and food baskets. And it's the kind of kit that if you opened it as a mother, as a father, you'd say, thanks, alhamdulillah, shukr Allah. For the next few weeks, I know that we're sorted. For the next few weeks, I can keep clean. I can wash my children's feet. I can wash my hands. I can trim my beard. I can have nappies for the baby. Subhanallah. If you have it in your bank, give it. Allah will return it. And make du'as as well. I ask Allah to spare us from the world, from the coming trials, to lift us out of this and to bless us all in this holy month of Ramadan. Ameen. Jazakum khair. I'll say goodbye until tomorrow. And by the way, join me again the same time, brothers and sisters, for Omar Isa, the international nasheed artist. And he's going to talk about his realizations from the lockdown. See you then, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.